Aloha, my love. Today, I am going to reveal to you, I'm going to pull back the curtain and I am going to share with you 3 surprising results that have happened for me as a result of doing what I am going to call this sacral somatic reset work. Which, by the way, if you're interested in actually learning and being guided through the process, you're going to want to join my Fire Horse Queen activation, info down below. However, what I want to share with you, again, is the profound shifts that I have been like completely blown away with for myself in doing this work and why I want to teach and share it with you. So again, before I go into that, I think it's important that you have a little bit of background and context. And so if you are new to my world, last year was a year of massive shedding season, challenging. And of course, because the way we roll around here is to alchemize all that shiz into gold, we definitely had some beautiful transformations and magic and shifts and gifts along the way. And one of the gifts or blessings is that I get to now share this with you here today, right? Having gone through all of that. But I want to give you, again, like some context from a almost collective or cosmic vibe, okay? Because that's also something we do tune into around here that the horses have always guided me to. And that is, at the time of this recording, it is, I believe, the 9th of February. So we are a week away from the official Fire Horse New Year on the 17th. And we are in what I would call the tail end of the year of the snake. And the way that I am getting this image is when the snake is shedding its skin, right, and emerging, it still has to, in the process, it still has to, at the very end, before it fully emerges as the new next level version of itself, it has to shed or release that tail end of the skin, right? That layer, that last bit, that layer. And when we think about the tail end or our tailbone and the root of our being, the sacrum, the pelvis area, you have to remember a couple of things. One, you have to root to rise. So your foundation, right? Your sense of safety, stability, and security is associated with your root chakra. You may already know that. However, we're going to go deeper, so stick with me. And as I've pointed out in one of my posts, I think a week or so ago, when we are actually sitting on a horse's back, our root chakra is right on top of their heart chakra, right? We're sitting on their back and their heart chakra, we're right like there, right? So as a conscious equine guardian who wants to be, showing up as the best version, as themselves, as the most clear, connected, calm version when they are with their horse, whether it's on the ground or on their back, it doesn't matter. They still feel the energy, okay? It's just amplified when we're on their backs. This work is so important. So if you are someone who, just with the state of the world these days, and you're sensitive, you're a deep feeler, you're empathic, you have been maybe experiencing unexplained anxiety. Maybe you're having some fears and anxiety around personal stuff that you might be navigating. We're all going through shiz, right? We're all going through, stuff. This is the times we're in, and all of that stuff is here for us to rise, right? And so to pretend that we don't have fear or anxiety or any of those things, or maybe you're disconnected from it because you're disconnected from your body and your emotions because you've been in like chronic functional free survival mode for so long, which used to be me, when we are in that place, we do not realize the powerhouse, the storehouse that our root chakra, that our sacrum, that our pelvis, that our psoas muscles is holding. And so much of it is associated with our family of origin, our tribe, associated with ancestral inherited pain or patterns, traumas, all of those type of things, which you may be like, oh, I've worked on that before, and I have too. I got news for you. I have never experienced the shifts like I have again until I began going deeper on this journey with my somatic and nervous system work, and even the spiritual technology that I channel. And so I just wanted you to, like, again, have that background in terms of where I was at and in terms of how important your root chakra is, right? We have to root to rise. And if your roots aren't strong, if your foundation isn't strong, right? Like whatever fruits you're bearing is connected to the strength of your roots, right? And so it can't be overlooked. And I also feel called to share with you that from an ancient Hermetic teaching perspective, and I weave a lot of ancient wisdom into my work because I'm an old soul. From an ancient Hermetic teaching perspective, your sacrum is considered or called the sacred bone, the holy bone, and the throne of the soul. Your psoas muscles, which are kind of like the guardians of the sacrum, are considered the muscles of the soul, right? And so this area in our bodies, like the physical areas, when we go deeper than the energetic root chakra, when we go deep to the physical body, which actually the root chakra is all about, it's all about you connecting with your physical body. When you are either disconnected from that area and or there are imbalances or weakness. So for example, I will share with you, pulling the curtain back, what I have been noticing for myself over, again, especially concentrated or heightened, peaked over the past several months, but I've been doing it in some way longer, okay? Anyway, I was noticing some SI, so sacroiliac pain on my right side. I was noticing that my left psoas muscles were super, super tight, okay? And it wasn't to the point of creating like I couldn't function or I couldn't walk or anything like that, but because I had been deepening my somatic work, I was really connecting with my body and realizing these imbalances. And a couple of things, like your psoas muscle is actually your fight or flight muscle, right? When you are in that flight or fright, freeze or fawn, right? That sympathetic survival mode, you know, you're getting ready to run, right? So that those muscles tense up, okay? Your psoas muscles. If you have a weak or tight psoas muscles, or maybe imbalanced, one side is tighter than the other, which was my situation, that, especially if you've done things like yoga or gone to the chiropractor or gotten massages and you're still having issues there, it's deeper than just the physical fix. Again, our ancestral pain and patterns live in not only the sacrum, but the muscle memory. There's a reason they call it muscle memory. Your psoas holds those survival trauma memories, okay? And so that's why this work is so, so important. And the beauty of this work that I've been doing for myself, and want to share with more of you, is that it's not about reliving those past traumas. You don't even have to know, like a lot of the pieces, I didn't even, I didn't know specifically like where it was coming from or the origin. I mean, I knew it was ancestral. I knew it was inherited. It felt like, things that like I don't really have a reason to actually be feeling this way kind of thing. And what I'm trying to say is it did not require like re-traumatizing or reliving the pain. Okay. That I want that to be clear. So those were the pieces that I was noticing, and the way that this work works as I've been doing it and practicing it, it is kind of also like a titration, right? Like you don't just do it once and then, you're fixed, everything's cured, right? Like that's not the vibe. The vibe is really this slow, gentle, titrated release in little bits in the way that you and your body and your nervous system can handle it. Okay. So as I've been doing this work, something like one of the first things that I noticed that was so freaking profound is the way that I was sleeping. Okay. I have been my whole life sleeping on my belly. And I've tried all the things, with the pillows and whatnot. Like I always ended up on my belly. And there was one point about a decade ago that I had the realization from working with a mentor of mine that because our belly, if you think about it, our underbelly, our belly is a very vulnerable, like if a dog, rolls belly up, they're being submissive, right? It's a very vulnerable place. And because of the trauma that I experienced as a child, the fact that I was sleeping on my stomach was a protection, right? I was protecting my underbelly, okay? And so that resonated so much for me in terms of the reason that I was sleeping on my belly. As I've been doing this work, what's been blowing me away, and it's been definitely happening now for at least several months before like actually sharing this, is that I am waking up in the middle of the night, finding myself sleeping on my side, and both sides, sometimes the right, sometimes the left. And that's just blowing me away because my whole life, and I'm 61, my whole life I have been sleeping on my belly. Okay, so that's huge because it's happening subconsciously. It's happening at a time where I'm not asking or trying to put pillows and trying to make my body sleep in a certain way, because after a while I gave up because I always ended up on my belly. But again, the past several months, that's like changing, which is blowing my mind. And again, the fact that my body's doing it on its own means that my nervous system is feeling safer and more regulated. And that's why I'm not sleeping on my belly. Okay. So that's the first, like, surprising and blowing my mind and my body kind of shift that I have noticed in doing this work. The second shift that I've noticed has been just like a really, really profound deepening of my felt sense of safety and stability and calm and inner peace. And if you've been in my world for a hot minute, you may have heard me share about how last year, with this massive shedding, my beloved equine loving mirror, Indigo, was reflecting back to me as I was, having like the fears and the anxiety and all of this stuff surface. His behavior was reflecting that. And then as I deepened my work for myself with the somatics and nervous system and everything that I'm talking about here, he also again reflected that in such a profound way that I knew I had to share this because, for me, sometimes like we can get in our mind or think we're imagining things, but when your horse is reflecting that back to you, it's like larger than life and makes it so real, so visceral in, a huge kind of 10x kind of way. Okay. So anyway, that was or is the second surprising thing. And I want to say, like, I have been, for years now teaching different somatic safety practices and working with the root chakra, in all sorts of different ways, and experience profound shifts for myself and my clients, physical healing and beyond. And this is just like a whole new level. And I wish I knew and had this awareness back then. And I believe that part of my journey was to go through all of this to get to this place, and that everything was building up over time for me. And so anyway, regardless, there is that divine timing, right? And so the third surprising shift that I've been noticing is, and this might sound like a bit weird for me to share, but because in some ways I'm not about like the vanity metrics. I'm not about, how many views or likes or subs I might have on a platform, or, my emails I will look at, not intentionally, but every time I go to write an email, it shows up, like the open rates and that kind of thing. There's been an uptick. In a subtle way in terms of those vanity metrics, in terms of those numbers. And while I don't give them my external power, I do feel that it is an external reflection of me feeling more safe to be visible, to be authentic, to be myself. And that is getting reflected back to me, okay? And again, I want to be clear here that I don't believe we should give our power away to external circumstances, to things like vanity metrics. And that's, not why I do the thing, right? I'm doing it because it's my soul's calling, and I have no other choice but to listen to the call and follow and honor the nudges, because that's who I am and who I be. And it is a very, very powerful, again, maybe reflection of the deeper shifts that I am making for myself around feeling safe. Again, feeling safe to be seen, to take up space, to be visible, all the things, which again, I've worked on this shiz for years, and my soul's work and my online biz journey has been an ever evolving one, for sure. There's been peaks and valleys and all the things. And I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm noticing that happening recently with my work. And on the inside, what is really powerful for me to notice is that I'm so much more neutral about that. Like, yes, I'm happy and I celebrate, a new sub, or, there's also been unsubscribers too, right? Like, so there's on both ends, but I'm way more neutral about that. And I know and trust that the more I step into my authentic self, the more I unleash my true self. And I'm discovering myself along the way, right? With this shedding of conditioning and patterns and all the things, that now my aligned, like, soul tribe, if you will, is coming in, if that makes sense, and can more easily find me, okay? Because even though on some level you could say, or I used to say, like, I'm showing up, right? I'm taking the action, I'm showing up, I'm doing the thing, and yet I wouldn't necessarily see the kind of shifts or growth that I have been seeing recently, again, in a slow, steady way, which I think is more, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, my nervous system, right, can handle that better than instead of all of a sudden, huge kind of glow up thing, if that makes sense. So those are 3 surprising shifts that I know are huge. Of course, the most magical one is with my horse, and that's why I felt like I really had to let my conscious horse guardians and horse lovers know about this. And so those 3 shifts, again, one is the way that I sleep, again, which is huge because for 61 years, I have slept on my belly 99.9% of the time. And these days, again, for the past several months, I might start out that way, but I'm waking up on my side, I would say like half the time, more than half the time, which again is just blowing my mind. And the second one, as I shared, was with my beloved Indigo, who, you know, it breaks my heart to realize how much I was not aware of, right? That I was kind of carrying, and sharing with him unknowingly, but once you know, you can't unknow, right? And so I'm so grateful that I was able to do this work and shift things and up my game, right? And so now it's just, anyway, like, I know that I'm doing the best that I can to be, you know, the best guardian possible, right? That's Epona vibes. Epona is the goddess and guardian of horses. And by the way, on that note, if you are interested in learning my 5-step Epona ritual process that I developed as a result of all of this to do before I spend time with him, which also, that's the foundation, right? But then it also comes into play when I'm with him, but the foundation is to do it first on my own, right? When I'm not with him. Anyway, so that is available inside of my Dark Horse Magic Boutique. Link will be down below. And I have a huge announcement. If you're still here, if you're still watching this, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is like a major plot twist. And the fire horse, she showed up early, came to me this morning during my meditation and journaling. And what I am going to do, what I am being guided and nudged to do at this time, because it just feels like it has a life of its own, and it's just like growing and growing, and there's so much that I want to share. You may or may not have seen it, but I have a Fire Horse Queen activation event, and originally it was supposed to be a 3-day series kicking off this week. And oh, I forgot to mention that whole tailbone thing, or maybe I did, but just in case I didn't, is because we're in this tail end of the year of the snake, and next week is the official kickoff for the fire horse on the 17th. The first call for this fire horse activation, we will be literally working with, I'm going to take you through a guided process, which is the one that I have been using specifically over the past several months, that I am attributing to the shifts that I just shared with you. Okay. And so we are going to be kicking off with that. And again, it was supposed to be a 3-day event happening this week, but combination of a nudge from spirit, because so much more wants to come in, and I'll be real, a bit of a schedule conflict. I decided that the best fire horse move or pivot was to actually expand the container to a 1-month, 30-day mini mind experience. And for those who already signed up, like, that's the way I roll. I reward my fast action takers, and this is your reward for taking fast action, really getting upgraded to a 1-month mini mind. If you haven't taken action, if you're first time you're hearing about this, the information will be down below. And at the time of this recording, I am, because I've shifted the schedule and the structure, there's a 48 hours to get in on the early bird. So I would do that before the price rises, because what I'm bringing to the table for this investment is just insane. But I'm feeling called to do so. And again, we're going to honor the nudge. So I am going to love you and leave you here. If you received value, thank you for liking and subscribing if you haven't already, and doing all the things. I can't spread the word without you, and it would mean the world to me. So thank you, because this message and movement around really empowering the sacred feminine with the medicine of the horse, whether it's in your body, which is where we always want to start, whether it's in the barn with your horse, whether it's in your business or beyond, is at the end of the day, I know the golden thread of my soul's work. And I also know that as I am stepping more powerfully into the truth of who I am, that I am meant to reach so many more amazing, beautiful, conscious horsewomen and men, if that applies. And so thank you for your support. So with that, I'm going to love you and leave you. Ciao for now. Namaste. Everything you need will be down below. Bye.